The cytosol or cytoplasmic matrix is the liquid found inside cells. Most of the cytosol is water, which makes up about 70% of the total volume of a typical cell. This is perhaps the most obvious component of a cell. Everything in a cell is surrounded by water. Water is life. Not much more to add here. Or is there? When we here at Most Holy Place set out to make this chapter, we really thought it would be an easy slam dunk affair. Maybe write a quick paragraph about water and how it relates to baptism, and we're out of here. Boy, were we surprised. The rabbit hole runs deep with this one. Get ready. This simple, unassuming laver of water has quite the story to tell. One could say the story was written in the stars. Exodus 30:18. Thou shalt also make a laver of brass, and his foot also of brass, to wash withal. And thou shalt put it between the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar, and thou shalt put water therein. Seems innocent enough, until we find out where the brass came from. Exodus 38:8. And he made the laver of brass, and the foot of it of brass, of the looking glasses of the women assembling, which assembled at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. Really? Made from looking glasses? If that doesn't scream esoteric, I don't know what does. Where do we even begin with that one? Ecclesiastes 1:2. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Yes, the main gist is that looking glasses, or mirrors, represent vanity. What does vanity have to do with the brazen laver? We'll get to that later, but first, let's look at another meaning. Matthew 6:10, Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. As the cytosol within the cell contains a mini-universe, or microcosm, the brazen laver's water mirror reflects the universe above, or the macrocosm. Job 38:32, Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth in his season? Or canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons? And if we look at how the water of the laver was used, we find that it too becomes a microcosm of sorts, as the water is mixed with flesh, blood, and bits of DNA from the sacrifices. Leviticus 1:9, But his inwards and his legs shall he wash in water, and the priest shall burn all on the altar to be a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire, of a sweet savour unto the Lord. Note that this was most likely done by taking water out in pitchers rather than defiling the entire vessel. Thus, we have an example of how cytosol in the cell is separated as well, as it is enclosed inside each of the individual organelles themselves. This separation into organelles can be seen in Solomon's temple, as we have 10 little lavers and one big molten sea. We will explore the molten sea later in this chapter. So are the heavens really a mirror, or are we just assuming? Job 37:18. Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong, and as a molten-looking glass? Look at that. The sky, or Mazzaroth, zodiac, is a mirror. The word looking glass is translated as vision in verses such as this one. Ezekiel 1:1. Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river of Chebar, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. In an earlier chapter, we saw how the word for mirror was used to describe the sea of glass. Revelation 15:2. And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God. And that the sea of glass was linked to dark matter, which can be compared to wisdom, and also acts like the water of a mother's womb. Think of the angels standing on the sea of glass as standing on a membrane or scroll, similar to a television screen. viewing the universe inside. They exist outside of our space-time continuum. Are you seeing the pattern here? The Mazzaroth is the zodiac that lives in the dark matter sea of glass in the heavens above. At the same time, the water in the Brazen Laver is also a representation of the sea water in the womb and the wisdom of the mother protecting it, as well as cytosol in the cell and/or ovum. Remember, the Laver was made from the cherished mirrors of women and is thus feminine. What is a child but a mirror of the parents? Ephesians 5:31. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. Two shall become one flesh. A mirror.